I didn't see a big tunnel. Everybody sees something a little different. I immediately was just whisked away. And less than 10% of the people that have a near-death experience get to the level that I got to and have a full life review. And it's almost like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater and you're watching all the highlights of your life go by, all the important times, all the people that brought you joy. And then I heard someone behind me tell me that it's not really my time. I can stay if I want to, or I can go back. And I really had to think about it for a little bit because
you are listening to Personal Development Mastery, the podcast that empowers you with the simple and consistent actions you need to create a life of purpose and fulfillment. I'm your host, Agi Keramidas, and this is episode 378. Have you ever wondered what insights a near-death experience could reveal? Not only about the afterlife, but more importantly, about living a joy-filled life. Today we're talking with someone who had not one, but two near-death experiences. When you listen to the discussion, you will discover the 5 essential love lessons for soul growth. You will learn practical strategies for raising your vibrational frequency, and you will understand how connecting with your soul elevates your self-worth. Before we dive right in this fascinating conversation, if you enjoy listening and appreciate what we're doing here, the simple free favor I'll ask of you is to press the subscribe button. Now, let's get started. Today I am delighted to speak with June Edward. June, you are a psychic medium, author, and teacher with a unique journey. You have gone to the other side and come back by choice. With over 35 years of experience, you combine psychic abilities with a deep connection to angels, guides, and departed souls. Your near-death experience has given you a profound understanding of the afterlife, and you are passionate about encouraging others to embrace this life and be grateful for all the gifts they receive in their lives every day. John, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to speak with you today.
Thank you for having me.
There are things that I'm looking forward to speak with you: soul purpose, navigating relationships, what you call the 5 love lessons, things like that. Before we go there, let's start with your story, and in particular, I would really like to hear about your near-death experience at 27. So tell us what happened.
Sure. So I had injured my back when I was 22 and found out I was pregnant right after. So I was unable to really have x-rays taken and see what kind of damage was done. And I spent the last 3 or 4 months of the pregnancy in bed because of back pain. And after found out that I needed surgery. And I put the surgery off as long as I could because I just knew that if I had the surgery, I was going to die. I just knew it. And it got to the point where I was told I couldn't have any more children unless I have the surgery done because my disc was just going to explode in my back and they'd be picking out the pieces. And I knew I wanted to have another child. And I told everybody the night before I went in, I said, I know I'm going to die. I just need to make sure everything's in place. And they're like, oh, you're just afraid, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm telling you. And sure enough, the night before the surgery, they do an MRI test with a contrast dye to see where the damage is. And I told them I thought I was allergic to it. I had it once before and I had a severe reaction to it. I couldn't get up for hours. And they just kind of poo-pooed it off and told me that was a normal reaction. It happens to everybody. And what do I know? I'm not the doctor. I'm 27 years old. I'm the patient. And as soon as they gave it to me and injected it, I immediately died. And I'd never heard the term near-death experience or NDE until a few years ago. And I always considered it just a death experience because I knew that I died. And I didn't see a big tunnel. Everybody sees something a little different. I immediately was just whisked away to heaven, which I have since learned was the lowest level of heaven, the 5th dimension. And less than 10% of the people that have a near-death experience get to the level that I got to and have a full life review.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like sitting in the front row of an IMAX theater and you're watching all the highlights of your life go by, all the important times, all the people that brought you joy. And then I heard someone behind me tell me that it's not really my time. I can stay if I want to, or I can go back. And I really had to think about it for a little bit because, I used to say the two things that you take with you is knowledge and love. But since I've brought many people through from the other side since, and a lot of them are still in despair or hurt or sadness, I've learned that we take our knowledge and we take our feelings with us, all of our feelings. I just was feeling an overwhelming sense of love on the other side. And it's amazing without a body because you don't have pain. You don't feel any of that. It's very light. And when you think about quantum physics and the speed of light, it's over 300 million miles a second. And my soul traveled that fast to go to heaven. So when I decided, I was coming back for my children, because that was one of the biggest reasons I was here to begin with. As soon as I made that decision, I was back in my body literally in a second. That's how fast my soul traveled back. So I believe my vibration stayed very, very high. And that's the reason that I'm able to connect so quickly to the other side. But what's interesting, the things that I've learned since I came back, your soul is way too big for this body. Some of it's in your body. Some of it's over your body that they call an aura that people can see. And the majority of your soul is actually in the lowest level of heaven, that fifth dimension. And it orchestrates the timing of all the events in your life. So when you connect with your soul, you're actually connecting with that larger portion that is there and has all the knowledge of all your lifetimes. So it's absolutely incredible and amazing, the feeling and just the overwhelming of everything, of knowing and seeing. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Wow. There were so many things that come to my mind. And what you just said about that our soul is not only in our body, but especially this last or level that is connected with everything else, that is a great way to look at it. I really enjoyed, imagining it like that.
We're not the suit that sits here. We are the energetic soul inside of us. That's who we truly are. And when you're stuck here in the 3D, playing the movie role here and not connecting to the rest of your soul, you're really losing out on that higher perspective and the joy that you could be living your life in.
And we'll come back to that for sure. And there is something you mentioned the life review, and you said like you're sitting on an IMAX and everything is in the front row. So what I have read about life review is that, and tell me if that was also your experience, it's not like you only experience things in your life from your point of view, you also experience them from the people's that you interacted with, so you saw their point of view as well.
Not really. No, it was I often wonder why they showed it to me. And I believe they showed it to me to encourage me to come back. Because we write this life before we come here. We write this plan out. And that was an exit that I wrote into my life that I could have taken because I had a very difficult and challenging life up to that point. So I could have taken it and it wouldn't really have shifted too much down here. They already had made those plans to correct everything. But I think they knew that I was going to come back. I laugh about it now because of the work that I do. I'm like, you knew I was coming back.
I'm sure there are so many, but I would like you to share one major way that that experience influenced your perception of life, first of all.
So, to be honest, prior to that happening, I was one of these people that if I couldn't see it, feel it, touch it, couldn't be real.
Right.
Even when you look up at the stars in the sky, right. God, they look beautiful. Yeah, they tell me that they're planets and that they're, celestial things, but it's like, I can't, how do I fathom that in my brain, right? And I was exposed to a lot of different religions as a child growing up. My mother was searching. My mother apparently was a medium, but I didn't know that growing up. My dad had kidnapped us and told us my mother was crazy and threw us out. I had no clue. So our belief system is based on what people tell us, right? What we learn or what we experience. And I think in every person's life, if they're paying attention, they will experience a miracle in one way or another, because miracles happen all day, every day. And once that happens to you, no matter what it is, it will change your perception of things. So I never believed in saints and angels. And, I thought it was ridiculous, people praying on rosaries and, Mother Mary in the bathtub in the front yard or in the car. And it's like, well, let me tell you, since returning, this is all very real. I always believed that there was a higher power. I always believed that. And that was proven to me. There is a higher power. There is only one. You can call it whatever you want, source energy, Buddha, God, whatever you want to call it. There's only one. And all the rest, there's a hierarchy on the other side, the same as there is here.
If you enjoy this episode, can you find one person you think would find it useful and share it with them? I'd really appreciate it. It helps the show grow, and you'll also be adding value to people you care about. Thank you. And now let's get back to the episode. That's great. And I think, June, we have said so far a nice preface or a nice foundation about in the conversation. And I would like to steer it a little bit and discuss something that you talk about in your book, All's Fair in Love and Karma. And I would like to focus on navigating relationships via the prism, or looking at things from, your unique perspective and the wisdom you have gained from, your journey. So you talk about the 5 love lessons. So can you share a little bit an overview of the concept so
Sure.
we can take it then from there?
So, we come back here and reincarnate with the same soul group of people every time. And every archangel has a soul group, and there's millions of people in there. So karma is what you create in this lifetime. If you do something wrong to someone else and you don't have any remorse and you don't make amends, you now owe that person in the next lifetime, some other lifetime. But it's not always a bad thing. It's meant to teach. So we come back here for a little bit of a mini vacation, because on the other side, you're there for a long time. You don't have a body. You can't touch. You can't smell. You can't taste. You can't have sex. You can't do any of those things. So it's a little mini vacation to have a little bit of fun in the body. And you're also here to learn your lessons, to help teach your lessons, collect your karma and pay your karmic debts, and help each other along that way. Okay. So suppose you stole money from someone in a past lifetime. Doesn't mean they're going to come steal from you in this lifetime. They may end up being your boss, and they're going to teach you how money works. Okay. Because it's always for your highest and best. The whole goal of everyone is to help your soul evolve. It's always positive. Okay. So the 5 lessons that we come here to learn, the first one is self-worth. And we learn our lessons faster here than on the other side, and faster still within relationships, whatever that is. Relationships with your family, relationships with your friends, romantic relationships, they're all relationships. Self-worth is the understanding that you are so important, that you are the only one of you in this entire world. How special is that? Even if you're a twin, you're different. You want different things. Your parents can tell you apart. And I just found out that they have different fingerprints. Okay? You are the only one of you. And it is not narcissistic or selfish to put yourself first, as society would have you believe. It's where everything else comes from. If you don't put yourself first, you're not going to be here to help anybody else, are you? It's that simple. And no one has the power over you to make you do anything. I can't make you love me. I can't make you hate me. That's all on you. So happiness is also your responsibility. It's definitely an inside job. And when you make yourself happy, You will surround yourself with happy people because just like misery loves company, happy people like happy people. Okay, that's how that works.
Yes.
You're not going to be happy when something suddenly happens. You're not going to be happy when you meet the right person. You have to be happy first. The second lesson that we're here to learn is trust in communication. You have to trust that there is a higher power. And I've never met an atheist on his deathbed. Trust me. The closer we get to our maker, the more we start to look and watch and be interested in what else is out there.
That's interesting. Yes.
So you have to trust that there is a higher power and that you made this plan. If you don't like what's happening in your life right now, you've got nobody to blame but you. You made it. You made this plan. And hindsight is a wonderful thing. We can all look back and see how the crumbs are connected and how one thing led to the next and led to the next and led to the next and brought you to exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And as terrible as something it was that happened in your life, it's horrible when you go through it. But when you look back, you'll see that something good came out of everything that's happened in your life. You know, that horrible breakup, 20 years later, you're like, oh my God, thank God I'm not still with that person, right? Because it moved you on to something better. So you also had to be able to communicate to the people in your life your wants and your needs. We don't know by osmosis what it is you want or what you need. You have to be able to tell people, whether it's your parent, your child, your spouse, it doesn't matter. So sex also is just another form of communication. If you can't trust and communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to be able to do it inside the bedroom. It's kind of common sense. And keep in mind that, you know, when you make this plan, if for some reason you're not on your path and you're stubborn, maybe you're supposed to move to Washington State and take a new job and you're hemming and hawing and you're not doing it, the universe is going to step in and make sure you go. Maybe it'll burn your house down to get you there, but it's going to make sure you go. So you have to remember the things that happen are not happening to you. They're happening for you, for your highest and best. Then you have unconditional love. Unconditional love is not saying, oh, I have to stay in this, you know, terrible relationship that's abusive because I'm supposed to love him unconditionally. That's playing the martyr. And that's where your lessons will start reinforcing each other and self-worth is going to kick back in again, right? Unconditional love is saying, listen, we had a great run. It was wonderful. It's not working. You need to go your way. I need to go mine. End of story. And it's not bad-mouthing them down the block. It's truly wanting them to have the best, and you have the best as well. Suppose you had a child that you love dearly, and they do something horrific, like murdering a neighbor in a fit of rage, and they go to prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what your child did, but hopefully you're still going to unconditionally love that child, right? That's just an extreme example. And people have a lot of problems with unconditional love. Suppose it was another situation where someone, you know, accidentally hit your child on a bike and killed them. That poor person now has their own life. They have to deal with that and carry that guilt. You know, are you going to be able to unconditionally love that person and say, I understand that this was a horrible accident and you destroyed your life, even though you've taken from me, right? It's a challenge. It's a big challenge, but it's something we all have to learn. Then you have money and balance. And what people don't realize is that money is energy. This is why it's called currency.
Yes.
And it's what we use in this 3D world to show whether or not your life is in balance. Everything has to be an even exchange of energy. You don't walk into a grocery store and put $1 million down to buy a gallon of milk. Not yet, anyways. There has to be an even exchange. And money is like a river. It's energy. It has to flow. So the more you put out, the more you get back. That's how the universe works. Now, if you're going to work 80 hours and you want to hoard your money and, you know, try to save it a bit, now your life's out of balance because you're working so many hours, you have no time for your family, your friends, your own hobbies. And then you're saving all that money. You don't even have the self-worth to be able to spend the fruits of your labor on yourself. So it's constantly showing you, and then that goes back to the self-worth again, right? So they're always reinforcing each other and showing you. And then you have the last lesson, which is patience. And, you know, we live in a society right now of instant gratification. Everybody wants everything right now. And it doesn't work that way. You made this plan and things come to you at the perfect time. Perfect time, always. If they come to you before you're ready, what good is it going to be? So, every little 5-year-old little girl wants to get married and have baby dolls, right? Now the stork starts delivering the real ones. How stupid would that be? You have to have the patience and trust again that you made the plan. Maybe your biological clock is ticking and you haven't had your kids yet and you're not married yet. Well, maybe you planned that when you were 50 or 55, you're going to marry a guy a little younger who's a widower and raise his children. You don't know. You just have to trust that you made the plan and it's really going to work out for the best for you at all times. And this is why, the universe wants you to think you have choice, right? But really your only choice is to delay these lessons. So for example, the universe is going to offer you door 1, 2, and 3. You take door 1, you go through it, you get married, you have a couple of kids, you get divorced, you're in front of door 1, 2, and 3. Well, we're creatures of habit. We're going to take door 1 again. We're going to go through it. We're going to get married. We're going to have a couple more kids and we're going to get divorced again. Where are you again? In front of door 1, 2, and 3. Well, if you learned the lesson you were supposed to learn, whatever that lesson was, self-worth, money and balance, if you've learned it, you're not taking door 1 anymore. You're going to take door 2 or door 3. And you may still get married and have more children, but it's not going to end the way it did before. Okay? Because you learned that lesson. You now go on to the other lessons that you need to learn. And then there's 3 different types of relationships. The karmic relationship is specifically someone that owes you karma or you owe them. So you're there to either teach them a lesson or for them to teach you a lesson. And it's a karmic relationship because it never really feels right. There's always something in the back of your mind, whether you're looking for the red flags or you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. There's just something that's not right with the relationship. And as soon as one or the other person learns their lesson, that relationship ends immediately. It's like you wake up one morning and say, why am I even here? And it's done. If you've both learned your lesson, it can end amicably. If only one or the other has learned their lesson, it will end, but it will not be amicable. Then you have the soulmate relationship. Well, a soulmate relationship is still there to either teach you or you teach them, but it's there to afford you some love and comfort along the way. And it feels really good. It feels like an old shoe. Sometimes it moves really fast, right? It's very comfortable. And once the lesson has been learned by a soulmate, it doesn't have to end. It really depends on what you wrote into your life plan at that point. Okay? And then you have the twin flame relationship. And twin flame relationships are extremely rare. There is too much misinformation about them on the internet because of all the movies. But they are literally one soul that split into 2 bodies before they came here. And they will forever always be in 2 separate bodies after that. They will meet at a predetermined time in your lifetime. They are always extremely sexual, extremely passionate, and extremely psychic. And they only last for a matter of a few weeks to a few months at most. But they will change your entire life and they will put you on the path of learning your lessons and helping humanity because twin flames have a higher calling than everyone else. And if both people are able to get on that path and start helping humanity, they'll have an opportunity to reconnect in this lifetime. Most of them don't reconnect in this lifetime because one or the other cannot learn all the lessons and get on their path. You'll know it's a twin flame relationship, however, because no one else in your life will ever compare to the feeling that you had when you were with that person. That saying of feeling like you're coming home or you complete me, that is it. And, you'll live your life alone before you'll settle in life again at that point. Not something that everyone wants. Soulmate is what we really want.
June, thank you for this very comprehensive answer. There were so many things that you shared there and many levels of knowledge. So I appreciate both the 3 types of relationship you said, but also even before then, you were talking about the actual 5 love lessons. And, the way that you were describing it, I feel more drawn to the first one, which is you also referred back to the self-worth a few times because it others spring maybe to some extent from that. So what I wanted to ask you is some practical things a listener now can do or implement to increase that self-worth, or maybe connect better with it and grow it.
So one of the biggest things that I can recommend for people is to raise their vibration.
Okay.
So again, we are the energetic being that's inside this suit. And everyone's walked into a funeral and felt everyone crying and felt the low energy, right? And everyone's walked into a wedding or a birthday party and felt that high energy that they want. And we are frequencies, just like a radio station. You can't get the radio station in if you're on the wrong frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're magnets, so we're always attracting or repelling at any given time. And you're bringing in the people in your life that are on the same frequency as you. So the first thing that I would recommend is for people to get in touch with their soul and raise their frequency. And you can raise your frequency through laughter, through love, through enjoyment. But the fastest way to do it and the fastest way to get in touch with your soul is through meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I put the directions to meditate in all of my books because I think it's absolutely so important, and to do it properly. And when you do that, so we're living in this 3D experience. We have a body, we have a brain in our head, right? Your brain is a massive computer. It helps you process all the information you have. But your brain has a very specific job. Your brain's job is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So people make their decisions in life based on fear. And when you do that, it's a 50-50 crapshoot. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but you're always questioning the decision. When you get in touch with your soul and you make a decision from your soul, that's a knowing. People say, oh, it's my gut instinct. That's your soul. When you make a decision from that knowing, it's 100% the right decision every single time, and you don't question it. So when you're able to meditate and get in touch with that soul all the time and make your decisions that way, it changes your perspective on everything in life. Suddenly, you don't want to live in that mundane drama of somebody yelling at you every time you walk through the door or complaining about every little thing in their life. You start looking for the joy in life. You start looking at things on the positive side. And so the people that are on your higher frequency will stop being drawn into your life. And the other people that are on the low frequency that are completely negative just start dropping off. It's amazing how it works.
It's a great way to explain it and describe it, and I will certainly highlight that and repeat it like what you just said: raise your frequency, raise your vibration.
Yeah.
June, I want to thank you very much for this fascinating conversation I'm having with you today. As we're nearing the end of the conversation, and before I wrap up, I do have a couple of quick fire questions I always ask my guests.
Sure.
Before I do, share please with the listener, where can they find out more about you and your book?
The fastest way is to go to my website, juneedward.com. There are links to all of my books on my website, so you don't have to go hunt them down in the bookstore. There are lots of videos that you can see from my students. There is a free webinar you can sign up for to learn a little bit more about energy. And if you're interested in the Relationship Mastery program that I have, which is a 7-week online course to help you change your energy and magnetize anything you want or anyone you want into your life through the law of attraction, you can sign up for a phone call to see if you're a good fit for that program as well, or you can schedule a call with me or book an appointment.
That's great, thank you. And so, June, my first quick fire question is: what does personal development mean to you?
Personal development is the development of your soul. You can't get more personal than that, can you?
And hypothetically, if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give her?
Don't stress out so much. Wait a minute, it'll change. Trust your journey.
Thank you. There were two words you said earlier on, patience and trust, and I will bring them now to what you just said as the advice. Beautiful. Thank you. John, I want to thank you very much for this conversation and from the wisdom that you shared with us today.
It's my pleasure.
I want to wish you all the very best with continuing your mission. Any last parting words?
Give each other a hug. You're in a 3D world. We need that human connection. Just give a hug. It costs nothing to be kind.
And before I end today's episode, an open invitation to you listening right now. I invite you to find me on social media and send me a direct message about anything you prefer. You can tell me who your favorite guest has been so far, or who you would like me to interview next, or what topic you would like to hear on the podcast. So drop me a line and I look forward to chatting with you. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,